Hartsburg.
Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's your host, David McKaig, and I'm here joined by my co-host and analyst, Craig Hartsburg and Alex Parr inside the Sioux Online ONN TV studios. Yet another edition of the Game Sports Show, an action-packed edition, as we always do here have on the Game Sports Show. We're going to get right into it, fellas. And Craig, first off, so congratulations that you're the development coach now with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We did discuss this a couple weeks back once we had you on the radio and podcast side, but if you want to discuss into that quickly.
It's actually going to be a fun job. It's a part-time gig. I'm certainly not jumping back into the full-time coaching ranks, but I get a chance to spend some time with their prospects, especially their young defensemen. I'll spend some time in Cleveland with the American League team. Probably once a month I'll make a trip there, and then we will have a young player in Sarnia, a defenseman in Sarnia, and then also maybe make a trip to Europe. So again, it's just enough to stay active, but it's certainly not a full-time gig. But I'm looking forward to it. It'll actually be a fun thing to try to help some of their prospects out.
Definitely, and to have you here a part of the show is obviously great too to have. And Alex, we have great to have Craig on, but you too. You look sharp too.
Oh my goodness.
I know he's wearing the Columbus Blue Jacket shirt, but you look sharp too.
Thank you. I was going to say, I guess I'm chopped liver compared to the new accolade of that. But you know what? I'm here with Dave on the Game Sports Show. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Definitely. Now, Craig, I want to go to you first actually with something that's going on locally. And you'll be able to explain this a lot better than I will, so I'll just pass it off to you.
Next week I'm going to be running a defenseman clinic for Sioux Major. Monday will be the Bantam teams and the midget team, the AAA midget team, their defensemen. They're all invited to come out. With their coaches, we're going to run 2 sessions on Monday, and then on Tuesday we'll have the Atom teams and the Pee Wee teams, their defensemen. I was approached by Sioux Major, and Jeff Toms was actually part of it. To try to do some things, to add some things to their defense and to their kids that are trying to develop as defensemen. So I look at it as fun. It's a fun thing to do. The kids will be excited to be there, and we'll spend the first session, we'll be doing all puck play where we're working on their skills, giving them some different things to work on throughout the season, not just their normal passing and shooting. Then the second hour and a half will be more of a positional. We'll work on some one-on-ones, some two-on-ones, some pinching decisions and stuff like that. Some fundamentals that I think that we can help, whether and the coaches that are there, hopefully they can gain something from it too, and use some of the things that we do on Monday and Tuesday to use for their season plans.
Definitely. Canned food drive, correct too, right?
Yes, it's free. The kids parents don't have to pay anything, and which is kind of nice for a change here. For any hockey parents.
We talked about that.
I know the expenses. I got 2 grandsons that are playing, so again, just 3 canned foods for a charity here in the Sioux, and should be a fun day. We'll hopefully everybody gets something out of it.
Definitely. Now, Alex, I think this transitions us into, and Craig, obviously transitions us into our next topic quite, let's say, deliciously. Ooh. Go with the canned food. So, local hockey development and overall hockey development, not only just Sioux, Ontario, we've also talked about this previously on the radio show, Craig, but just now overall in general. Okay, now you're running this camp, it's going to help with the development, but in terms of the Sault Ste. Marie in general, is everything in place in Sault Ste. Marie in terms of having the right resources that it used to be in terms of, I remember being younger and there was all the professional players were involved in the camps, and they still are, but there's more camps, more opportunities for camps, and I'm getting a lot of questions stating that the overall development for hockey has went down previously to what it has, and just in Sioux, Ontario, but also throughout Canada.
Well, I'm not sure. I think it's a work in progress. I'm talking just here in the Sioux. I think there's been some strides made here in the last couple of years. I think there's still a long ways to go. I think the development of coaches, I think, is the big part of development of our players, and I think we have to continue to get our coaches to get better, to continue to learn how to coach, and not just the game, but how to coach young players. And I think that's everybody's challenge. I think the game in Canada has been a great source of pride for all of us. Yeah. And somebody questioned the other day that why is the drafts of Canadians gone lower and lower in the NHL draft. And I believe it's because we have taken our game and we have taught a lot of the world about the game. The European countries have learned so much from us. hockey, USA Hockey has learned so much from Canada. And we don't have the numbers as US does, but I think we have done a great job as a country of promoting our game, and we've taught a lot of people around the world how to play the game. And so our dominance is not going to be, it's not there anymore, and it probably never will be. We still will be a threat at the highest levels, but we have done a great job of promoting the game all around the world, and I think we should take some pride in that.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, the United States, their number of population compared to us, there's going to be a time where that skill level eventually catches up. I know this draft coming up is supposed to have a lot more Canadians going in the top 10, but like you say, that should be something you're proud of to see the rest of the world. In the game, in the NHL alone, you can see how it's grown exponentially in a dollar amount even too. So I just have to tip my cap to that.
The game is the best it's ever been, and you can say it was better in the 60s or 70s or 80s, but you go back and you watch video, you can watch video of me, and it wasn't very good compared to the speed and the skill of it is right now. So Canada will still be a threat around the world, but we're not going to be every year where we're going to dominate the world hockey scene.
Definitely, and now very good points. But inside the local development in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, like I said, we discussed this numerous times. You know, the enrollments went down in terms of like hockey in comparison to the early thousands and late 90s, if you want to go that far. But they say it's went down because of fees, or it's went down because families are also getting smaller. Okay, there's that other side of the thing. But in terms of having the overall development in Sault Ste. Marie, I still think we have a promising future.
Well, I think so. There's some good people involved. Cole Jarrett is doing a real good job at the Pee Wee in helping with develop the coach's plan for them, and you can't change overnight. I think the development in the Sioux did slip for a while, but I think it has. The people that are involved now, the coaches that are involved, they're taking a great deal of pride in trying to make hockey better in Sault Ste. Marie.
I think so.
And a big thing we talked about last episode too is the support of an actual sport. There's always going to be support for the Greyhounds. There's always going to be support for the Thunderbirds. So I think we always will have that solid base of being able to make players into NHL superstars. And I mean, even now, I don't think there's been a year in some recent memory where there's been without an NHL player from Sault Ste. Marie actually on the ice on a team. So I think that's something the city of relatively small size should take a big stance of being proud of.
You'll have all the opportunities and viewership to watch the Hounds, etc., as Alex said, here in Ontario. Always have that role models to look up to. Dave McKeag alongside Alex Parr and Craig Hartsburg here inside the ONN TV studios and Sioux Online. We're going to take a break and come back on the Game Sports Show. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Dave McKeag alongside Craig Hartsburg and Alex Parr, co-hosts and analysts of the Game Sports Show. Part 2 of today's show. Now, getting into part 2, kind of transitioned us nicely from part 1, talking about the parents inside hockey and sports overall. I don't want to keep throwing darts at hockey or darts to the map of Sault Ste. Marie with this. It's just an overall perspective, so I may remind viewers of that. But parents today, I'm going to go with the first part. Are parents too much in the stands? I remember when I was younger, I remember watching my sister play as well, the female hockey or female sports. I remember being in the stands in junior games and also coaches getting into it. You know, that was the big old beauty of hockey, they would say, all that old school grinding or the Gordy, as you would say, the type of stuff like that, the rough stuff in hockey. But now I'm hearing a lot of complaints in terms of local hockey and outside of Sault Ste. Marie, just throughout the hockey developments in Canada, that the parents are too much in the stands with yelling. I used to remember hearing my father yell and have a certain whistle in the stands. Now apparently it's the mothers that are louder than the fathers. So now overall, I'll start with you, Craig. Do you notice this from a youth kind of standpoint in the Sioux, or are the parents really, as a matter of fact, sometimes a little bit too much in the stands?
Well, first of all, I don't think Sault Ste. Marie is going to be any different than anywhere else in Canada. No. So it's, and it may not, I've heard horror stories of places in southern Ontario. So, but you know what, I think there's a ton of good parents out there. And I think they're majority, probably 90% of the parents that follow their children or their sons or daughter in hockey are excellent. And it's always that 10% that can ruin it for everybody else or just give parents a bad name. And I don't think they do it purposely. I think that their emotions take over. They spend a lot of money. It's their child. They have a great deal of pride in their child. But I've been to the rink a lot in the last couple of years here with our grandsons, and I can honestly say I leave the rink 99% of the time feeling pretty happy about the situations that I've just watched. Now I've also heard stories, but I really haven't seen anything ridiculous at the younger age. I think the one thing that Hockey Canada did was putting the half ice hockey in till they become 9 years old, I think is really going to help, especially with the younger kids, because the competitive game doesn't really start till they're 9 years old now. Before, it was at 6 and 7, these kids were playing full ice games and I seen some things where it was like, these kids are 7. The majority of them can't get up and down the ice, but there was a lot of yelling. But for the most part, the yelling is not a negative situation. They're yelling to encourage. Not very often have I heard where parents yelling at referees or yelling at the coaches. I haven't witnessed that, and touch wood, I don't have to listen to it. But so far, the rinks I've been in have been pretty positive, but I also know that it does go on, not just here in Sault Ste. Marie.
Right, and I think the only thing that would be a big problem with the yelling is if you're yelling to support your child, yeah, sure, they might be a little embarrassed and flustered because their mom's yelling at them from the stands. Stay away from the refs. Those refs are kids too.
Yes.
You're yelling at a kid that might not even be able to drive yet. That's something where the parents should probably reconsider the things that they're doing. I know at the end of the day, like you said, it's a huge investment. They'd love to see a return on investment. If that kid can make the next jump to the NHL level, that'd be amazing. So they do have a lot on the line when it comes to putting their kid in the sport. But leave the refs out of it. They're just there to pick up a couple bucks. But hey, like you say, Sault Ste. Marie is pretty good.
I think the thing again, and the investment that they make in their kids should be made that these kids are getting great life lessons.
Yes.
It's not, they're not investing so he can go on to play for the Sioux Greyhounds, go on to get a hockey scholarship in the U.S. or to play in the NHL. That's not what you're investing in. You're investing in so your young person can come home, he can go through some adversity, he can have some success, he can learn about being part of a team, he can learn what it takes to be a good teammate. All these situations, I think, are what we should be focused on, and at the end of the day, trying to get our kids to love playing the game.
And that's the key thing. When you lose that love for the game, that's where it's all lost. That's where you're searching. That's the whole development point, is that you're building friendships, social abilities. It's just those personality and those characteristics that you could develop and keep for the rest of your life, right? And that's the world of sports. Now, it leads to the last point that I want to jump into quickly because we have a couple minutes left here, fellas. Parents being too pushy to the youth. Now, that is the parents seeing themselves in the eyes of the kids. That is what you see a lot of in sports in general. Doesn't matter what country you're in. The father looking through the son's eyes, living the dream through them. Now, in terms of that, today it's definitely went down in that because everyone's understanding the side of the social side, the development side, and just the networking side, everything. It's not just you're trying to get to the NHL or to the Sioux Greyhounds. But overall, sometimes parents are a little bit too pushy to their kids, which drives them away from the sport that they love, or just overall to stop playing the game.
Well, there certainly is some of that. I agree with what you said. I think there's probably less now than there was maybe 10 years ago in pushing your kid. I think if there's anything more now is parents not getting their kid to be held accountable himself. Yeah. And learning the lessons that, hey, I did make a mistake, you did make a mistake, own up to it, learn from it, and move on. Yeah. Rather than, it's not your fault, it was your winger's fault, didn't get you the puck, or the goalie didn't make a save. Those are the things that I hear now that really bother me as much as anything, that it's never Johnny's fault, it's the coach's fault, or it's his line mate's not playing with a good enough line mate. Those are the things that I think that if we could get rid of, I think that, again, the kids will learn better lessons if they're not protected in a protected environment like that.
Right, and like we started at the top of the show, this isn't a bash to Ste. Marie or bash Canada
this
thing.
is
No,
hockey.
overall.
This is hockey in general.
Parents love living vicariously through their kids.
That's the
it
term I was
happens.
looking for.
It happens at every level. Look at LeVar Ball with his sons in the NBA. Those kids couldn't do anything wrong, and he would do anything for them. And I think there's just a few different parents like that do stick out like a bad apple.
Certainly, and sometimes if the parents are too pushy, you know what? Maybe your kid does succeed. Maybe they get to go to that junior level, the semi-pro level, the professional level. But that's not the overall point or gain of playing sports. It's just that overall building those friendships. Best friends that I have today, connections through meeting Craig and all that. It's all through hockey. It's all through the sport, and that's what you have to look forward to as when you're playing. Now, Craig, before we go to break, I know you're not going to be with us for part 3 because you got to take off for schedule commitment reasons. I want to say thanks for coming on by here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's Dave McKay, Craig Hartsburg, and Alex Parr. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have part 3 of the Twin Cities only local regional national sports show, the Game Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Dave McKagan, I'm here joined by Alex Parr, my analyst and co-host, as we let Craig go, as he had to go to watch soccer. Actually, speaking of sports, yes, he had to go do that. So we have to let people go do that here on the Game Sports Show, right?
We got it. If they're going to watch some sports, fine.
Yeah,
We'll let them out.
It's allowed.
We'll
It's
let 'em
allowed.
out. We'll
Definitely,
unlock
he was
the
dressed
door.
real nicely in that polo,
Oh
too.
my goodness,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Making it look so official. Making it look so official.
Definitely.
Good for him.
Definitely.
Good for him, man. Really excited to see
Development
that.
coach with Columbus. He's a part-time analyst and co-host on the Game Sports Show.
I'd say the second one's a little bit more important.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
think
just
so.
me.
I like that. I think so.
Okay.
But now we got part 3 of today's show.
All right.
Okay. And that is you and I. Okay. Last time you and I had something, you got real heated, my friend. Okay. You got real heated. Now the table's my turn today.
And
okay,
I
on
am
the heated.
excited.
It might. I gotta watch when I get heated. I just gotta make sure I contain my emotions
Right, I'll make
vocally.
sure no spit on me.
No
I'll make sure.
spit, and I make sure I think before I talk, like my mother says, because I don't want to say the wrong things.
Right.
Right. But we're gonna jump into athletes putting themselves into the spotlight. Okay, and the heading that I put down here, because I'm gonna cheat off my piece of paper here.
Right.
Creating drama. Is it getting to be too much? Okay, now listen. I'm gonna go to you first with it, and I'll start with a couple topics. Kevin Durant saying, and we talked about this on the Sunday show from Pier 55, I know it's Pier Brewing Company, myself and Justin, when we talked about Sunday, was that Kevin Durant went and said that the Raptors are never gonna make the finals again. If you look at the Game Sports Show 3 years ago, I called out Kevin Durant saying that he's a coward, calling him a loser was the word. Sorry, I'll say the exact word that I used, saying that he left Oklahoma City to go join Golden State to win a ring. Legacy, I don't care how good of a player he is. He is a top 5 player in the NBA, if not top 3.
Easily.
Okay, and he's won MVP in the finals. He's won MVP to prove it. Okay, so obviously him going to Golden State put them over the top.
Yeah.
But Golden State, I think they could have won without Kevin Durant those years. Okay, so Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City to go to Golden State, I think it's a bigger coward of a move to leave a team to go try to win a championship. Okay. Now, Kawhi Leonard, I think, is a better basketball player than him because of what he did to lead the Raptors this year. Call me crazy. Absolutely, I know I'll be called crazy for that, okay? Because if Kevin Durant played this year, the Raptors would have probably lost. We talked about that. So that's Kevin Durant. Now, Antonio Brown's another person. He will not wear the helmet that is now the new pass league for safety and all that, the new helmet that they put in place. He will not wear it. He wants to wear his old helmet or he will retire. Okay? Hey, former Steeler. I'm a Steeler fan. Taking off my host hat, put my fan hat off for a second. Thank God, good riddance we got rid of Antonio Brown with these antics.
So I can see where you're taking this. You're kind of saying the drama that they can create in the sense of a negative one. I was looking at this as of them putting themselves in the spotlight in general. I love a guy like PK Subban. When he goes out there, scores a goal, he does the whole Archer thing, does a big fist pump.
That's emotion.
When I pay for my ticket, I want to see those bigger, larger-than-life characters. I just came back from WWE SummerSlam. Those are the biggest characters you can ever possibly see. So I love seeing the characters and the personality translate. Now, when they're using their star power to be petty because they know they can get away with it, that's it's almost like the leagues have their back against the wall, because what are they going to do? You're gonna get Antonio Brown out of there? No, he's a huge draw. He's a huge storyline going into the season. Oakland would be up in arms if you just took away a player like that from him. Yeah. Are there players that use their star power in the wrong way? Yes, but I wouldn't say take all the personality away from all the players. Go be complete boards. When you're doing your interviews, don't take a page out of Joe Biagini's book. Just go and say, yep, we worked hard, pucks deep, pucks to the net, and that's it.
4 lines grinding.
Right, exactly.
Pucks in deep. Yep.
No, we can all sit here and mock those interviews and do our own versions of them. We don't like to see that. We like when players speak a little bit.
And that are real.
That are real and that are authentic. But I think in the case of Durant and Antonio Brown, when we see that they're real, we just kind of don't receive it as well as we would a guy like PK Subban.
See, what I think of players that have antics that go over the top, Terrell Owens, going and putting the arm up at, I believe it was in Dallas. I believe he might have did that.
I know he took his feet on the logo.
But to get your popcorn ready. Then you have Sean Avery in front of Martin Brodeur waving his stick. His Instagram, by the way, is Sean Avery, is absolutely hilarious though, besides all this point that we're talking about. But you have these players that have these kind of personas and these images in terms of their profession. So Sean Avery was known as a person who would just get under your skin. Terrell Owens, people thought of him as a cancer. I'll say it flat out. And you have Kevin Durant. No one thinks Kevin Durant's a cancer. Everyone actually thinks he's a great leader. Okay, he just kind of said a comment out there with the Raptors that fans aren't going to like. You seem not to agree that he's a great leader.
I mean, how do you lead a team that just tied the record for best record in the NBA season of all time, go there, win NBA MVP final, go, well, look, I led the team. No, you didn't. You joined the best team in history, and he can't take any credit for that. If he's taking credit for that, I'll go on another rant.
See, my biggest pet peeve one, though, is Antonio Brown. And I've said this, if you like the game, love the game, playing the game, especially if you're in the NFL, you're getting paid X millions of dollars, and we've talked about this, to do something that you love. Yeah, you're bashing your body. Yeah, you're not around your family as much for 16 to 19 weeks, depending on how good your team is, despite if you're the Lions fans, or if you're the Patriots, that's how long. Lions fans, you know how that feels. But besides that, because we have a lot of Lions listeners and viewers, I will say right now that you're playing a game that you love to do. Just shut up and play, man. Like, really. You're one of the best receivers in the game. You got traded for a 3rd-round pick. That is how bad Pittsburgh wanted to get rid of you.
And how badly teams didn't want you, because no other team offered a second.
No one. And he wanted to only go to a certain team. And you know what? He has a blue thing in his hair, and he's dyeing his hair different colors and doing things. Listen, I don't care what color you dye your hair. That's not what I'm talking about here, okay? I'm talking about the antics overall that are over the top. That is your image, and that is what you're going to be known as. Antonio Brown is not someone that, I'm going to put in front right of a press conference to talk. I'm going to put a guy like Sidney Crosby, someone who's properly spoken, someone who's not going to put these antics. I like the athletes that truly love their game and care about their game, not just do it for a paycheck and to look like they're the most conceited guy in sports.
I do kind of want to go back on one of your points, Terrell Owens and Sean Avery. I love both those instances. They are a moment that we're sitting here talking about years later for that exact
Sean Avery especially.
Sean Avery especially. That was hilarious. But then when he started talking about sloppy seconds and all that nonsense, that's when it went way over the top. And that calling Marty Brodeur fat, so that stuff's garbage. But trying to do something legal that was at the time legal in the game to get under his skin, that's all fine. That's all fair to me. Terrell Owens with the popcorn, that's all fine. But there's a fine line between your antics and between having fun with the game, and it's the players that tiptoe around it that we're sitting here talking about now. But I think Antonio Brown's just jumped off the deep end into just nonsensory. I don't even have a word for it.
A lot of players are doing this. Now, Alex, I want to know what the viewers think, so don't hesitate to comment below or reach out to let us know. Quickly, thumbs up, and I'm going to make sure I pronounce this. Thumbs up to Bianca Andreescu. See, I had to point to you. I didn't want to even try it.
That's fine.
Winning the Rogers Cup, even though Serena Williams was forced to retire. you know what? It's still a big win for Bianca. It's great to see a Canadian win in Canada.
It's
so
a big
congratulations.
win for Canada.
In general.
First time in 60 years a Canadians won that tournament.
That is fantastic.
Gotta love
So, Alex, that's been our show. Another great show.
Another great show, but I'm so sad to leave already.
Yes, Dave McKeag, Alex Parr, the Game Sports Show inside Sioux Online, and we will see you next week here inside Sioux Online and on TV Studios.